Your dog knows exactly what time you wake up, when you'll feed them, and when you're about to leave, before you've made a single move. That's not coincidence. That's something far more remarkable happening inside their brain. Most people think their dog follows routines the same way a toddler does, by noticing patterns and reacting to them. But researchers at Yevouche-le-Rond University found something that flipped that assumption completely. Dogs don't just recognize what comes next. They build an internal model of time itself. Here's what that actually looks like. When you make your morning coffee every day at 7, your dog isn't waiting for the sound of the machine. They're already positioned near the kitchen before you've touched the cabinet. They anticipated the event, not responded to it. That's a critical difference, and most owners completely miss it. The reason comes down to a structure in the dog's brain called the hippocampus, the same region responsible for memory and spatial navigation in humans. Dogs use this region to map not just space but sequence. They remember that coffee comes before shoes, shoes come before leash, and leash means walk. And they don't just remember, they simulate what's coming next. Now try this right now. Tomorrow morning, put your shoes on but don't pick up the leash. Watch your dog. Most dogs will already be at the door. They've run the sequence forward in their head and landed on the expected outcome. That moment of confusion when you sit back down, that's them recalculating. That's genuine cognitive flexibility. Scientists call this episodic-like memory, the ability to mentally replay past events and project them forward. For years, this was considered exclusively human. Dogs have quietly been doing it the whole time. What this means for you as an owner is significant. Your dog's behavior isn't random excitement or anxiety. It's a structured prediction engine running constantly in the background. When they pace before dinner, it's not impatience. It's a countdown they're tracking with surprising precision. Studies using heart rate monitors on dogs showed elevated anticipatory arousal beginning up to 20 minutes before a scheduled feeding, even when owners gave zero visible cues. They're not reading you. They're reading time itself. There's a reason your dog acts strange when your schedule changes, and it goes much deeper than confusion or boredom. When a dog's routine is disrupted, the stress response that activates is chemically identical to the one triggered by a genuine threat. Cortisol, the same stress hormone that floods a human body during a crisis, rises measurably in dogs when their expected schedule fails to materialize. Researchers studying shelter dogs and family dogs alike found that irregular routines produce chronic low-grade cortisol elevation. Not a spike, a sustained simmer. That's the kind of stress that erodes health over months. This is why a dog who seems perfectly calm might start showing destructive behavior, excessive grooming, or appetite changes during weeks when your life gets unpredictable. A new job, travel, a change in household. People blame the dog. They say the dog is acting out. But the dog is physiologically stressed by an environment that no longer makes sense according to the model they've built. Think about what routine gives a dog emotionally. It's not just comfort, it's agency. When your dog can predict what happens next, they feel a degree of control over their world. That sense of control is one of the most powerful buffers against anxiety in any social mammal. Remove it and you don't just confuse the dog. You expose them. The good news is that routine doesn't have to be rigid to be protective. Research published in Applied Animal Behavior Science showed that dogs adapted well even to new schedules, as long as the sequence remained consistent. Same order of events, different timing. The order mattered more than the clock. So if your life is inherently unpredictable, shift work, irregular hours, frequent travel, the most powerful thing you can do isn't to force a fixed schedule. It's to build a ritual, a consistent series of small events that signal safety. 3 specific things you always do before you leave. The same greeting sequence every time you come home. Dogs anchor to sequence. Give them that anchor, and they'll hold steady through almost anything. Here's the part that surprises most people. Your dog isn't just tracking the household routine. They're tracking you, your microbehaviors, your emotional state, your physiological signals, and they're folding all of that into their prediction model. A study out of UC San Diego found that dogs could detect shifts in human cortisol levels through scent alone, meaning your dog may register that you're stressed before you consciously feel it yourself. And once they detect that signal, they cross-reference it against the routine. If stress smell appears at a time when nothing stressful is supposed to happen, based on their internal model, they become alert. watchful, sometimes clingy. You've probably seen this. You're sitting quietly, nothing appears wrong, and your dog gets up from their spot, walks over and leans against your leg. You didn't call them. You didn't move. You didn't make a sound. They read something invisible and they came. This is where routine and emotional attunement intersect in a way that's genuinely extraordinary. Your dog has built such a precise map of your normal emotional baseline that any deviation becomes a signal. A sad movie, a difficult phone call, a bad night's sleep. All of it registers as a pattern disruption, and the dog responds accordingly. Now consider what happens when you're consistent, not just in your schedule but in your emotional presentation. Dogs who live with calm, emotionally regulated owners show measurably lower resting cortisol levels themselves. The routine creates predictability. The predictability creates safety. And safety for a dog is the foundation of everything: learning, play, bonding, confidence. One practical test worth doing. Next time you feel genuinely calm and settled, pay attention to where your dog is and what they're doing. Then note the same on a day you feel off. Most owners who try this discover their dog is literally mirroring their internal state through proximity and posture. Your dog isn't just living in your routine, they're living in your nervous system. Everything we've covered points to one conclusion, and it's one that most training guides completely skip over. Routine isn't just a management tool, it's a cognitive training environment. When your dog can predict their world with high accuracy, the mental energy they'd normally spend on vigilance gets freed up for learning. Think of it like RAM on a computer. Anxiety and unpredictability consume processing power. Predictability frees it. Dogs in stable routine environments consistently outperform dogs in irregular environments on problem-solving tasks, not because they're smarter by genetics, but because their brains aren't constantly running a threat assessment in the background. Here's how to use this deliberately. Build what behaviorists call a pre-training ritual. A short, identical sequence of 3 to 4 actions you do before every training session. Same spot, same starter signal, same first behavior request. After 2 weeks, the ritual itself begins to prime your dog's brain for focus. They're not just following commands, they're entering a cognitive state that makes learning faster and retention stronger. The same principle applies to settling. Dogs who have a consistent wind-down routine, a final walk at the same time, followed by a chew or a Kong, followed by a specific resting spot, fall into deeper, more restorative sleep. And sleep in dogs, like in humans, is when memory consolidation happens. What they practice that day gets locked in during sleep. Your bedtime routine is literally reinforcing their training. The deeper truth is this: your dog is not a passive recipient of your household. They are an active, predictive, emotionally attuned participant who is running sophisticated cognitive processes every single hour. The routine you create or fail to create shapes who they become. That's not a small thing. That's the entire relationship. Start somewhere simple. Pick one transition in your day and make it identical every time. Watch what happens to your dog over the next 2 weeks. You'll see a shift, not in obedience but in ease, in readiness, in the quiet confidence of an animal who understands their world. Your dog has been paying closer attention to you than you ever realized. The routine you build together isn't just structure, it's a language. If this changed how you see your dog, subscribe and tell us in the comments. What's the one routine your dog never lets you skip?